We are live. So I hope you all... Did you all see the text message earlier? Okay. Yeah, so we're going to try and go a little more sandbox tonight. We'll see how that goes. Fireball? It is a pretty absurd amount of damage, especially right when you get it. I mean, there's a reason it's sort of the classic. Yeah. Oh, so have y'all thought about what you want to do with your freedom? So you're going to be like a Muppet with Muppets. That's fantastic. So maybe the visual is like you have like marionette strings that come off of them, and when you command them, they like move around and attack. It'd be fun to have them as like classic like hand puppet Muppets, but I think that would get complicated when they attack something on the other side of. Mm-hmm. I guess I should load up on water while we're waiting. You might also look. I went ahead and dropped the items with full description in your inventories. They should be pretty cool. Spinnies we'll kind of have to explain to everyone because it kind of affects everybody. But it should be really helpful for you all. Yes, but you still had an attunement slot when I looked. I also need to look at comparable... well, I feel like I based Smasher on something. But I need to look at and see if like a comparable magic weapon requires attunement. But what did I base it on? Hue? No, that's not it. Moonbeam is a druid spell, but you should be able to cast it through your... it should actually be like in your spell list, if I made the item correctly. Make sure you also equip and attune, and then the spell will show up. Yep, it requires it. Yeah. While I'm thinking about it, yes. I mean, I kind of put it on you. It's sort of a full party utility. It's a pretty cool... Let's see. Oh, here's the item I based Smasher on. Huh. Huh. It require attunement. That doesn't feel very strong for an attunement weapon, though. But in some ways, that means that, like, after a while, you'd actually be better off with a regular longsword +1 instead of the magic longsword, which feels like a bad system. Right. But it wouldn't take up your attunement slot. So unless you're specifically like wanting to break an object, um, oh wow, Jacobson appeared. I'm going to refill my water real quick while we're still waiting for Chaos Monster. You might want to text him. Also, remember, even if I'm not here, the stream is still running. So Jacobson, you also now have access to level 3 spells, so you might look through some of those. You also have your magic item that you received. Bearer. Ring bearer. Yeah, I think I am going to make Smasher non-attunement. Because I want you to be able to have cool stuff. That also means you won't have to decide next time you see an attunement item, like, do I have to get rid of one of my cool things? It feels like one of those things that's so situational that, like, I don't know. I don't mind making that non-attunement. Oh, there's a chaos monster. All right. So as we kind of get up and roll and finish making sure your characters are leveled up and you've learned all your new spells and whatnot, everyone has their new magic item that they received at the end of last session. So I believe we left off. You all had just closed the raveling forms of Oja's advisors Pint and Port, and sort of left them in that room. Is that correct? So you all were successful in your mission to stop the assassination attempts against Lady Oja, who is the heir of House Blue, a longtime ally of Stret Asami, and your patron, Lord Bufo. You discovered that the source of the assassination attempts was actually a lost guardian spirit of House Blue that was banished back in the Age of Heroes. Something had caused that spirit to escape and allowed it to corrupt one of the other guardian spirits, the sun being, or the golden guardian soul. Sorry, y'all, there is no sun. You managed to free Soul. You defeated Shade, the banished guardian. But when you tried to find out why it had happened, you discovered that Pint and Port, who had been acting a little bit oddly and had mentioned allowing a historian to come examine the ruins, when you went back to ask them more, you found that they had been cursed by a letter that was left in their room. And it turned them into ravelings, undead Muppetfolk who are filled with the corrupted power of the ravel. They did seem weaker than other ravelings that you all have encountered, but that was where you left off. Is there anything else you all want to do with Oja or the Mouse Guard or anyone at House Blue? Yes. I wrote down the wording of the letter somewhere. It did reference a Robert. Man, I swore that I typed that into chat specifically so I would have it this time. Huh. Yes, so you can show it to them. I will actually pull it up on last week's stream real quick and find out for myself exactly what it said. Yes. I thought I did too, and I don't see it now. I swear that it was the last thing I sent in chat before we ended.
Size differences between the mouse guard.
Oh, you're like 5 times.
Well, now you're an easier zombie to burn.
That we had to kill Mort and Pete.
The otters.
Yeah, names were really hard today. I don't know why. All right.
It worked for me. I know who you're talking about.
So we're gonna kill this rattling too, or this mouse guard.
Okay, well, think about it. They were in the way. We had to get rid of them.
See, we
The
have
mouse guard was an accident, and
Here's what I'll do. I'm going to post the link for the video in the chat, and one of you can look it up while we roll on. Someone who's good at multitasking. All right. So I think we had established that Belos had like wrapped it and put it in one of his bags because you were the only one who could safely handle it because it was inscribed with some kind of terrible rune that the second time the letter was opened, it would cause this. And so when Port and Pint went back to check on the letter after you all confronted them, it corrupted them and turned them into ravelings. So you have the letter. Spinny is looking up exactly what it said. And you all want to take it to the mouse guard. Is that right? So you find Steven, and he basically tells you that he does remember Pint and Port arranging for someone to come visit. Normally, the mouse guard wouldn't let people roam those woods, but Port and Pint insisted. They brought in this historian. Not many people got a good look at this person. They kind of brought them in and went straight out into the woods. They apparently took them out to check out the temples for the Golden Guardian and the Silver Guardian. And it was a week or two later when the attacks started. And they were so caught up in the attacks that they didn't make the connection at the time. they don't seem to have a whole lot else to add. I do believe there was one more big thing in the letter, but Spinny is looking at that. So for now, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of travel by map and start making your way back to the Stret. You all still need to go back and report to Lord Bufo on your success and receive your reward from him, in addition to the artifacts you received. Yep. So you gather up your stuff. You get Cookie and go ahead. You get Cookie, who is Spinny's horse, and Irwi, and I believe y'all had a wagon coming here. So you get everything sort of packed back up. You're in a lot better shape than you were just a day ago, mostly at full health, and you make your way back. The trip back is actually very uneventful. You leave probably mid-morning without whatever corrupting influence that Shade was projecting over this area. It's actually super safe. You all are four clearly well-armed travelers, and so the average dangers on the road decide to leave you all alone. So it's not too much later that you arrive back at the Stret. The gleaming walls rising up out of the stage below, and you can already start to hear that background song of the Stret leaking out in the bumping along of carts, people whistling and humming as they walk by. It might still be a little strange for folks who haven't lived in the Stret quite that long, but definitely Belos and Chaos Monster, you all have lived here most of your lives. It's pretty comfortable now. So to check back in, Spinny, are you still hunting that down? Yeah. That's crazy. I specifically remember saying that. Huh. I wonder what happened to that. Anywho. You all make your way back to town. Is there anything you want to do before you go check in with Lord Bufo? Well, and you all will have some... My phone says hello. So you all have plenty of time to sort of roam around and take care of other stuff later. You all do have a small guest house, basically, that's been assigned for your use by Lord Bufo. It's one of the properties that he and his family own. It's not it's neither in sort of the really low-end part of town, nor is it in the super wealthy areas. It's sort of firmly in a relatively nice sort of middle-class area, not too far from Bufo's estate. So if you wanted to check back in there, you could. Maybe explore the place, because y'all haven't gotten to much at this point. Or you can just go on to see Bufo.
Not going
We
to
have to kill it.
by accident kill this mouse.
All right. So you make your way up to sort of the high end of town. Not quite like the Palace District, but right in that area. You can literally like look out and see the Astorius Palace, where where Marine the Empress is, from where you're standing. You find an attendant waiting at the gate. You all are clearly well known at this point, and so this little it looks like he's maybe like a guard apprentice or something. He's a monsterkin who he's got like an olive color to him. He looks like he's going to be very, very large, but he's only about half that size now. So you guess that he's pretty young. So you see him kind of run off to announce you. The guards just sort of wave you on through, and you are back at Bufo's place. You're put into sort of a waiting area for a minute. Bufo seemed to be in the middle of something and couldn't immediately detach to come meet with you all. But it's pretty nice. This is probably where like noble guests wait. He's not putting you all at like the servants' entrance. I was hoping we'd have the letter. I'm going to mute for a second and see if I can find it.
We have to kill it. It's random.
I'm leaving the room. This be here.
Oh, it's
That we have
I'll let you all decide off camera.
under the
done why.
learn how to ethically source spellcasting.
Well,
But
we
it-
see Georgia has some laying about, crawling, scrolling about.
But it does seem like you could possibly figure this out. It would be a very
And we now have a very strong zombie.
if you did some research on it.
So, I'm gonna store this letter with myself.
For this convenience, and let me know so we can make it woven through the words of the letter. You just notice a couple places where like words are like off center, and knowing kind of what you're looking for, the altered characters create a sort of rune inscribed into this sheet, and it's still sort of smoking slightly where it just triggered. It does not affect you. But this is a very powerful kind of magic, and it's not standard. Like, this is something no one in their right mind would create. This seems to be I found it, but yeah, it looks like Spinny's got it. Why is it acting like my stream isn't live?
Better game 3, but my money right now.
Oh, no, it's back. That was weird. I keep thinking he's got it. So while we're waiting, what are some personal goals for your characters? Is that a higher or lower priority than curing the curse of undeath that haunts you? You want to be a Jarl? I suppose that's an option. All right. Chaos Monster, do you have any goals? Eye of the Tiger. Hey, we have our letter. So thank you, Spinny. This is the letter that Port and Pint received, and it reads as such. My dear friends, I hope this letter finds you well. I have recently come into the companionship of a fine scholar of history and antiquity, dating all the way back to the time of the Titans. His name is Robert, he came highly recommended, and he has expressed interest in what I understand to be ruined temples on the grounds of House Blue. I told him, of course, my friends are key advisors of the house and would be able to help him in his research. I do so hope you'll be able to accommodate him. Please respond to this letter at your earliest convenience and let me know so we can make travel arrangements. Your friend, Lord Constantine. Nope. We were just asking about what people's individual character goals are. Just a slightly surprising order of priority. Curse of Undeath, becoming a rich snob. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, you can definitely die twice. Like you're not immortal in any way. You've not seen any ravelings fully come back. You've seen some that like were very, very hard to kill. Oh, My wife ordered a pile of food and immediately went to sleep. All right. So you all made your way back to the Stret. You've got the letter in hand. You all have been guided to sort of a waiting chamber. A servant went and informed Lord Bufo that you were on your way. He was in a meeting, so he's trying to disengage from that and meet with you. Is there anything you all want to discuss while you're waiting? Your patron, Lord Bufo. No, you all traveled by map. Well, you know who it's from, theoretically. You have. He was in. He was the angry, yelling frog noble who was in the chamber before you all dealt with that issue with the Macbeloff nomads and wearers of the Scarlet and the bandits. He was the one who thought that the people of Macbeloff were the problem, and that it was in fact them, which he actually did in fact turn out to be right. Everybody make a history check. Man, you all never roll well on these things. Yeah, in a clutch moment, Belos rolls a 4. Yeah, you all had a 4, a 2, a 4. Spinny topped it out with a 12 with no bonus. Just generally, you would suspect it would be hard to prove much from this letter. One of the things that you were specifically told by Steven is that whoever this historian was, no one really saw them. You're sort of inferring from context that it was related, but you don't actually have any means of proving that. And it's also hard to say, as you all have already pointed out, there's no guarantee that that rune was included when the letter was written. All right. Prop comedy. So you all are left waiting for a little bit longer. You kind of have this back and forth about the letter and what to do about it. Finally, the door opens, and you see, just like sort of through the doorway, someone exiting out another door. And you find yourselves in a nicely appointed chamber. Not like overdone. This is probably Bufo's like reception area. It's not like his private study. It's not like a formal throne room. It's just kind of like where everyday business gets done. You see sort of the door close off to the side where someone else just exited. and he waves to an attendant who waves you all into the room. I have so many windows open. There we go. Bufo looks much calmer than usual. He's wearing more sort of casual, like still really nice clothing, but nothing like too formal. He's got his long, sort of spindly green limbs, sort of his hands sort of templed in front of him. And when you all come in, he looks relieved. He says, "Oh, well, I was really worried about you guys. You're back. How did everything go with House Blue? Is Oja okay?" Well, as long as she's safe, she can have all the time she needs. He sees your all's nice new items and says, "Well, and it looks like you all had a very interesting and lucrative adventure. Hopefully we'll be able to find such opportunities in the future. For now, though," and he gestures off to the side, and the same attendant who gestured you in sort of runs off and comes back and has just a great big bag of coins. And he says, let's see, I believe that we had this budgeted out to 2,500 gold pieces to be split amongst you. So he hands you all this, well, not him, but the servant hands you all this big bulging sack of gold for you all to distribute later. What? Yep. He says, I know that you all had been enjoying some chambers here, but I feel that wouldn't be particularly convenient for you all in the long term. And he pulls out like a folder and sort of slides it across the table to you all. Who wants to open it? All right. Chaos Monster, the perfect person to interpret a packet of documents. You flip it open, and inside are several keys and a property writ. Basically, this is sort of like it's basically a lease, but it's not paid for in this case. Bufo is setting you up with the house we mentioned before, and he says, I hope that this makes it a little bit easier for you all coming and going. I know some of you have quarters at the university, but this should make it a bit easier for you all to coordinate and have a place to hang your hats, so to speak. And you look and you kind of vaguely recognize the neighborhood. It's probably not a place many of you have been, because there's not a whole lot there that you would go find if you didn't live there. So you have the gold. Do you want to say anything about the letter to Bufo? Robert. No, I don't know a Robert. I mean, I've known Lord Constantine for years. Ugh. He's always been unbearable, but I don't know. This seems like a lot even for him. He's more the sort to tie other people up in red tape and legal threat and economic pressure. The idea of him using some kind of undead necromantic magic seems... I'll say this as well. The frog doesn't have a competent stitch in his entire body. Not when it comes to any practical skills. If he can turn a light on and off magically, I would be surprised. This, and he kind of gestures, and where Belos has set it on the table, it's still smoking a little bit. Like, the magic is slowly fading, but, like, it's still real bad. He says, this doesn't seem like him, but I don't know. Oh no, the letter entirely sounds like him. The highly dangerous, competent, advanced Ravel-based magic doesn't sound like him. He sort of looks thoughtful for a second. You'll have to let me think further on that one. While the Tigranarch and Lady Marine and I were quite pleased with your efforts in revealing Demeter's treachery and exonerating the Macbeloff nomads, Lord Constantine took that somewhat personally. I believe that he's aware of you all on some level and is very unlikely to grant you any sort of audience, which is what you would need to get in contact with him. I'll try and think on it as well. The only thing that comes to mind is even in the Stret, even in the best of circumstances, power speaks to power. If you were of sufficient popularity or status or wealth or sheer combat prowess, you might be able to put Lord Constantine in a position where he can't help but meet with you. But for 4 unranked well, that was my thought as well. As highly competent as you all are, in a sheer contest of popularity and diplomacy, well, I'll just say that's not why I have employed your services. I will very tactfully and carefully try to work with the Lady Marine and see if we can come up with some kind of solution. But in the interlude, that seems the surest way of gaining his unavoidable attention. He says, I will see what has come our way recently, especially things that will have noticeable effects across. I think there are a few such things that might be what you're looking for, but I'll need time to gather the information. He nods and sort of, you all are just dismissed. Before you've even sort of left the room, there's someone else coming in and bringing him a pile of documents, and he sort of is like frantically flailing and signing and moving and reading, just like a flurry of paperwork. So you all have some heavier coin purses, and you are loose in the city. What do you want to do? No worries. So I can kind of list off some places in town that might be of interest, but also if you can if there's something you can think of that you're looking for, I might be able to sort of help direct you there based on what your characters would know. You have the Ascaria feature. It's like the turtle. Yeah. Yeah. Technically, you have natural armor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do have his name somewhere on my notes. Oh, for some reason, I didn't list that he was a grouch. I guess I thought that was obvious. All right, so you're going to visit Little Grouchland and the Cha-Cha Palace, also known as The Palace, somewhat sarcastically. All right, where else do y'all want to go? All right. Yeah. As a student, the school has sort of a practical slash bounty board where students can sort of receive commissions from professors and from people in the community as a way of going out and sort of working on practical skills. So you'd easily be able to find that. Where else do y'all want to go? All right. Yeah. So Chaos Monster to the university. Bellos wants to go shopping. Jacobson. So maybe you all will go shopping first and then kind of split off. All right. So there's a couple of places to shop in town. There's a few independent retailers, but the place you went last time was the Heraldus Trade storefront. That's where Odal the Axolotl, Beastkin, was, and his little Fragkin assistant, who were showing you around. There's also their competitors, the Hibois Conglomerate, who are actually like right next door. They have a modern, very sort of nice, sleek building, literally like towering on the opposite side of the street. You could probably go find some other general stores, alchemists for potions, maybe a blacksmith. Which do y'all want to go see? All right. All right. All right. You're pretty easily able to find kind of in the market district. There's a nice part of the market district, and then as you get closer to different places in the market, it becomes more specialized. There's an area that seems to be mostly like smiths and craftsmen, like making armor and weapons and things like that. There's more of a general goods area with like trade goods and grocery stores and things like that. This is neither of those. this is the sketchy part of the market. You find an untitled store, and you only find it because the sign hanging above their door is literally like a red potion bottle crudely painted onto a big piece of wood. Are all of you going there? Everyone make a perception check, and Spinny has disadvantage. I'm trying to remember which items Jacobson ended up with. I don't think he took the 1%. So as you all walk closer to this place, Belos notices it first. This place smells real bad. Like, that's why Spinny has disadvantage. Yeah, there's like visible like fumes like seeping up out of like cracks in the door and like under the windows. But it sure looks like they sell healing potions. All right. So you open the door, and the inside is wild. It's like a combination of like an old independent store, a used bookstore, a mad scientist laboratory, and like a witch's hut. Sorry, I started coughing. All to that. So, yeah, there's stuff everywhere. You see, like, what looks like a weird combination of, like, alchemical equipment and, like, magic paraphernalia. There's, like, what looks like a stuffed... You assume it wasn't, like, an actual beastkin. Like, it's an actual cat that's been, like, stuffed. And is like up on a shelf in like a really awkward pose, like someone just surprised it. And there is a giant bubbling cauldron of something. And you hear a voice say, "What do you want?" Yeah, we can do that. Nothing else? She says that and gives you just like a super weird look. What would I have for such fine, strapping young lads? It's a very uncomfortable vibe. I mean, yeah, this would kind of have a homey vibe. Well, not quite a literal home, but sort of a grouchy resonance for Spinny. She just goes and starts like finding all kinds of random stuff. well, let's see what we have here. And she's just like looking at stuff and like throwing it over her shoulder where it's like crashing into the wall and breaking. Well, what do we have? She pulls out one vial of a potion that it's like it almost looks like green fumes have been bottled. And she's like, yeah, well, one of those. She puts it on the table. She pulls out one that looks like there's nothing in it. But when you get sort of close to look at it, you hear like very, very faint screaming. Writing these down so I don't forget. She pulls out a whole bunch of weird different potions that are kind of in the same vein. She pulls out one that is like blue-white inside, and it looks like it's frosting the glass all around it. There's another that's just like black. Like, it doesn't look like it. I don't know. It's very uncomfortable to look at. And what else do we have? She pulls up a couple of big jars, and they look like they have like marbles in them. And she just like reaches into one, grabs it, and just pops it in her mouth, and just chomps like, yeah, still good. Closes it back, puts it on the counter. What else? Basically, she has almost any common magical item, like, just stored away back here. Just weird stuff. She laughs and yeah, this was a good one. Pulls out it looks like a pumice stone, but it's glowing. And you don't know what it is, but Spinny, it makes you really uncomfortable. There's like a terrible patch of some kind of like scummy grossness on this table, and she just like passes the stone over it, and it just like, and all of the filth is gone. Yeah, everyone has opinions. She pulls out some kind of like, it's in a different sort of vial. This one has more of a round base, and it looks like it has oil inside it. And she puts that up. So what you have on the table so far are a potion of poison resistance, a potion of psychic resistance, a potion of cold resistance, a potion of necrotic resistance, several healing potions, 2 greater healing potions, let's see what the closest we've got is. There is, she kind of looks at you for a second and goes, and she starts digging again, and she pulls out this vial. It looks kind of brown and muddy almost, but it looks like there are like clippings of fur in it. All these different brightly colored furs. She says, yeah, this is a potion of monstrous strength. She like she just takes like she uncorks it for just a second and takes like the tiniest sip and recorks it, and then just like fully lifts Spinny, box and all, up over her head for a second, and then back down. All right. So the healing potions are 60 gold. The yes, I'm typing it out real quick. Yeah. The weird beads that she pulled out are beads of refreshment. No, wait, not beads of refreshment. That's something else. They're beads of nourishment. For like a whole jar that looks like it has maybe 20 beads, it's only 50 gold. What else? There was a stone of cleansing. You don't want a cleansing stone? She just kind of pats it and lays it out and says, well, it's here if you change your mind. Oh, there's also notes first. The oil was oil of slipperiness. And if you apply the oil of slipperiness, you have the effect of the freedom of movement spell for 8 hours. You can also dump it out and use it as a grease spell, but it also lasts for 8 hours. Yeah, that would be one way to use it. Everybody make a perception check. No. None of you notice. No, if I was being really mean, I would just look at your passive perceptions and then not say anything. That's druid power. No, they're 210 each, and there's only 2 to buy. Right. No, there's as many of those as you want. All right, mark it in your inventory. Uh-huh. It doesn't say it explicitly, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be at least somewhat flammable. So, Jacobson, you turn sort of around, looking around the room, and this time last time you thought you maybe saw something, and now you're sure that stuffed cat is in a different pose than it was before. Like, before, it was kind of reared back and, like, looked surprised, like... And now it's got more of, like, a back arch, like... You don't know that it means anything. It's just really creepy. Chaos Monster seemed interested. Oh, who? Place a full day of rations. Each dose. All right. She's kind of eyeing you all up and down as you do this and says, Do you think maybe it's like a really creepy come on, basically? But then she says, Seems like you all go through a lot of potions. She kind of laughs and says, Big meaty boys taking hits keep me in business. Hill giant strength. It's hill giant strength. But it actually seems to be like, in this case, it's front with like clippings, like what you assume to be powerful monster kin. Yeah. So she looks thoughtful and says, You know, you can handle yourselves. As that she makes a very suggestive look at Spinny, but then goes on. She goes over and grabs like a flower pot and brings it back and says, What are you... pointing inside. All of you make a wisdom saving throw. Very low save. We'll just see what happens. No worries. You all did fine. It was like a DC 5. I mean, to be fair, So, Spinny, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this. Jacobson, Bellos, and Chaos Monster, this reminds you of the rat. It's soil, but it's not right. It has too many dimensions. Just looking at it kind of makes your brain fuzz out for a second. All of you make... yeah, it's definitely a nature check. Everyone make a nature check. Oh, man. Bellos, your rolls are just letting you down. He did. So me and Jacobson, you all identify this as Gorg soil. Gorg, soil. It's a special material that, as you're aware, is almost always found in Kingdom Fraggerrock. And it's not like soil anywhere else on the stage. And it grows really unusual plants really well. Everything that grows in it is really unusual properties. The most famous of which are Gorg radishes. And the Gorgs are a group, they're a Muppet group of Kingdom Fraggerrock. They're like 6 or 7 feet tall, all of them. And they're one of the groups that knows how to tend Gorg soil big enough to the weird things that come crawling out of it. It's kind of surprising that she has any. They're very protective of it, and the other places that have it tend to be very dangerous. She says, you boys look like you can handle yourselves. Need more Gorg soil. These posts don't grow on trees. Well, okay, they do grow on trees, but those trees need Gorg soil. Now, if you were to just come across some Gorg soil and travel, and you were to bring it back to me in good condition, I think some store credit would be in order. You haven't asked yet. Bet you do. And she awkwardly Connie. Creepy Connie. No, my mother did. Creepy Connies. Now I should write down on that she's sending you to do this. If you... Jacobson, you turn around and this time the cat is wearing a watch and pointing to it, but not in the time around. It seems to have changed position, and Connie goes, "Oh, it's time to go," and she just startle imprecision, shovels all of your potions to your side of the table, sweeps all of the other stuff just off of the table, scoops all of the gold into a bucket. It's time to close up. Places to be. She literally slams the door behind you all. You'll have to come back and investigate. All right, so you got potions. Where else do y'all want to go? All right. So then let's work our way down the list. Uh, to Little Crouchland and the Cha Cha Palace. So you make your way from the Market District over to the Avenue. The Avenue is very much the income side of town. It's where sort of the cheapest, like where laborers live. It's also where the Bowery and Little Grouchland both are. Sort of the like, enclave communities for Goblinkin and Grouch. Still sort of that same song running through the... but here the song definitely has swear words in it. Everything's just a little more and unpolished, and other parts of the Stret, especially like... it might... yeah, now I'm just envisioning Chaos Monster like as a kid, just like through the city and wandering through them and like all kinds of swear words, and that's why she does it. It's a little less polished, like the main drag of town, parts of the market, Hero Square, the Astoria's Palace. It all has almost a Disney World feel to it. It's sort of cool and highly polished and happy, and everyone's kind of singing and going about. It was like where real people live. The song is there, but it's a little more gruff. You pass a lot of folks who are in sort of plainer clothes. Some of them are kind of worn out. They look like maybe to do sort of day labor. And you make your way to Little Grouchland. Everyone except Spinny make a Constitution saving throw. Chaos Monster, you've come this way before, and Jacobson, you're kind of... It gives you a pause just how bad it smells. But you sort of soldier through. Bella, you're on the edge of like, I need to leave or I'm going to throw up. And just spray like fluff everywhere. But you manage to like push it down and just settle for being really comfortable. Some of the grouches kind of on the sides of the street, a bit spinny as you all go by. Some of the guys like they're on like porches, front steps, and things like, yeah, it is best Stret, and then goes back to like rummaging through trash. So you make your way to the Cha Cha Palace. Not any nicer than it was before, with kind of what you expected. It's probably midday now. Crew. Cha Cha Palace is one of the few spots in town that like do really good local, not local, but like authentic watch. And so lunch crew is starting to meter in. There's a lot of like just gruff voices yelling back and forth like, hey, it's been a how you? Hey, how you doing? No, how you doing? Just back and forth. Somehow the food smells worse than like the rest of the neighborhood. Spinny, to you it smells delicious. Where are my notes? Look around for a minute because there's so many grouches in here. But you Solid at the end of part of the bar, just digging into his own plate, and he's just like ravenously like wolfing it down, kind of doing Muppet thing of like smashing mouth and it just goes everywhere. And he kind of looks over and sees you as you're about halfway through the room, gives to acknowledge you, and then just. I know I'm horrible descriptors, but food is sitting behind me and I'm really hungry. This is doing nothing for that. He says, "Hey, Spinny, it's been a minute. How you been?" Yeah, this is Sal. Alan. Of course it did. You were top best. 5 times. Are you kids even working? And another plate of this from him. So what brings you all the way down here to the happiest place on earth? Yeah, he kind of looks around. Now let's see what we got here. Oh, of course. What, you think I'm gonna do some sewing? Sounds like two things come to mind. There's have y'all ever been to a glitter mine? So do an Arcana check. Yeah. This is heard of glitter. You've run it occasionally. Man, touched it. And again, Belos roller. Spinny, you think because you saw something like glitter places while you were on your way to House Blue, and then sort of, you all sifted some out, some impure glitter. Glitter is this really powerful material that is very magically reactive, and it can do all kinds of crazy stuff. The most common use is for magic items. A little bit of glitter goes in just about everything. Every healing potion has a pinch. Steel longsword has some glitter melted into it. It's also used to needed to cast a powerful ritual, or you were trying to do something sort of outside weight class. Glitter might be a way of sort of making up the difference. What? Ingest glitter, super bad for you. Does have interesting effects, but you eventually. It's yeah. You got us talking about lines of glitter. The Stret has a big mine about a ride away from here, and it's one of the biggest mines. That's what they built the economy around, and it's something's wrong up there. Is what I'm got a lot of out of work miners wandering through town griping. There's something there. It's like there's something in the mines that's with them. mean, miners are always a bit of a superstitious lot, but I like working. So, even if they're spooked, they usually wouldn't leave behind. But they must be really spooked by something. The thing I can think of is I got a buddy. Some people might say he's the Alan of the Bowie. He's a goblinkin, and some's got them real. I think it's back home. Weird though. They don't usually like coming to visit, like actually go to Labyrinth. But it sounds like they're specifically for some real competent non-goblins to go do something. Seems like it's a big deal. They're flashing a lot of gold. I'm just gonna type it. And of course, you all would know common knowledge. This is one of the other sort of large kingdoms. The Trashlands, the Grouchland and the Trashlands at the center, sit sort of between the Labyrinthus. And Labyrinthus is weird. Like, they're just sort of a different length than everyone else. There's sort of a whole cultural bent towards harming people, definitely like tricking people, messing with people, having a laugh at other people's expense, but also just being like weird. And most folk, there's a handful of people who travel there, but for the most part, not many do, and they like it. He says, you know, there might be one more thing. I gotta get a drink if I'm gonna keep. It's not as graphic as I can go. It's pretty bad. He said, there's one more thing. Around to make sure people aren't listening in. And he says, there's a rumor going around that somewhere out in the Grouchlands, they've started digging up some. I mean, it'd be anymore, but they say they're digging up relics of Ascaria out there. Yep. It's actually in your character sheet. I can drop it in. You would immediately recognize this. All of you would know us as one of the most famous heroes. Hold on. My wife woke up and realized that the food was delivered. So Ascara was, or the Armor Dweller, as he was sometimes called, was like the most famous hero of the Grouchlands. He's one of the few guys who are really famous everywhere. And he was a companion, the Golden Giants, the Saint, the Brothers in Yellow, the Devoured Rithmancer, all of like the big name heroes who like tamed the stage, founded all of these trees sort of set everything in motion. And short-o sound. You would know that, and Spinny would just know this. This is something that like you probably read up when or went out of your way to hear stories about. There are relics of Ascara that pop up from time to time. Pieces of his armor, famous weapons that he used. All of them are incredibly powerful, and grouches of... They're almost like holy relics. And there's also a rumor that the relics... sort of a badge of honor. It's said that the relics end up in the hands of who's supposed to use them. But a new one hasn't showed up for a very long time. And just to kind of give you follow-up notes, he tells you kind of a general location in the Grouchlands. Folks seem to have been working on this. To follow up on Labyrinthus, you'll probably want to visit the Bowery, which is not far from where you are. Yeah, he's in the nicest part of town, where there are like lots of gates and guards, and basically there's sort of a noble district that stretches out in sort of a crescent shape around the palace. Bufo is sort of on one end, and Constantine is out sort of on the other side of the arc. Mm-hmm. And now the song is in my head. All right. So also on your list, you have Kale wanted to drop by the university, and Jacobson turn into a cow and talk to plants. I think we'll go ahead and go to the university, and then we'll let you all have kind of like free roaming down on your own after that to kind of do whatever you want. All right, so Chaos Monster, you can easily kind of lead everyone over to the university district. It's a very large area. There's sort of the main university, the majority of the students attend, sort of the equivalent of like upper school college. But there's also sort of sub schools. You spend most of your time in the University Arcane, which is where Arcane Monster is. It's had the scant few classes that he's managed to get you to sit through. It's also home to the Academy of Arithmancy, the university is, which is where Belos got his training. So the University Arcane has basically a jobs board, practical / board set up in one of the student areas. You've walked by it a lot, mess with it. So, is that where you want to go? All right. You all definitely had a little bit of attention. Chaos Monster has a bit of a reputation of her own. And so folks are just kind of giving you all a wide berth to begin with. But with this sort of strange crew with you, there's a lot of like, what's going on over there? I wonder what that is. And you make your way to the board. The board is massive. It's probably 10 feet across. It dominates like most of a wall in sort of one of the student lounge areas. There's all sorts of stuff on it. Everyone roll an investigation check, and Chaos Monster can roll with advantage. Oh my gosh. All right. You're kind of overwhelmed. You are not a university kid. This is not your environment, and you're really feeling that vibe right now. Jacobson, same thing. You're a country boy who spends his time in nature, and this is wild. Yeah. Talking to animals, being animals, fighting animals. Chaos Monster, there's two different approaches. Belos, you put all of your sort of intelligence and your very logical, ordered mind to work, and you're able to sort of sort through and figure out sort of the there's a lot of jobs, like 95% of them are challenging enough for you all. They're things that are made for like students, basically like level 1 characters. So it's a lot of like, go pick these herbs, go kill 10 rats. Not particularly challenging. So you're able to kind of sort through and find a couple of the more strenuous challenges. Chaos Monster, you just sort of like spin your wand and then like point at the board. And you all come up with a couple of things. You do the official post about the glitter mines. It looks like the posting is being managed by Heraldus Trade. They're sort of the controlling party in the mine. And it is referring people to one of their storefronts to find more information. You find Belos finds sort of a very sort of vague, oblique reference that seems to be pointing you towards the Labyrinthus situation as well. And writing Labyrinthus over and over has screwed up my ability to spell labically. The thing you pick up from the Labyrinthus thing is that it gives you the name of someone in the Bowery, a goblinkin named Eden. And he's sort of the contact person, and it gives you an address to follow up on. What else do you find? Looking at my list. It also looks like there's you wouldn't have noticed these lining up if you hadn't been sort of systematically looking through. But you find 3 different postings, and Belos, they're talking about the same thing. They're all looking for experienced, competent, adventurous types to come provide security season in Kingdom Fragorok. What's a little troubling is that the 3 postings seem to be from the different groups within Fragorok. You find one that seems to be posted by the Gorgs, one that is posted by the others, is posted by the Frags. So that's kind of a strange troubling for this. The last thing is just neat. It's actually an advertisement. It's actually on kind of like a slightly separate board that you found as you were looking through. And it's an ad for custom magic item creation. It sounds like the Heraldus storefront is available to do some commissions. And so if there's something in particular that you all are interested in, they might, if they don't have it, might be able to actually make it for you. And if it's something that previously exists, they'll figure out how to make it for you. No worries, I'm doing the same. So there's 3 different locations that are listed. Oh, it's Kingdom Fragorok. Fragorok. Yeah, so one of them is posted by the Gorgs, and it looks like the contact person is just listed as Ma Gorg. Gorg. Yep, the dozers are listed. It's a Prell, Prell. So the frag, the contact person is Wagner. Yep, they're looking for, and as someone who's done some mercenary work, you're kind of reading between the lines. It all kind of sounds like they're asking for muscle. Like, it's listed as a security job because that's what you put on something like this. But it kind of sounds like they want big, strong people to be on their side because something's going to happen. Whether it's going to happen to them or perhaps on their account someone else is maybe a little ambiguous. That's actually the Heraldus trade storefront where Odal is. TL. Hey guys, come by. There's a cool job. He's the one you all did not buy magical light sources from before you went on this last adventure. Yeah. I debated stopping you, and then I was like, oh, I can't do your shopping for you. Let's see, who had the lowest roll there? So Spinny, you're sort of overwhelmed and you're looking at this board, and you do find like one really weird ad. It has a drawing of some kind of giant purple dragon on it. And it seems to be from a professor on campus, a researcher, and it says, will pay, how would they phrase this? Will pay gold for legitimate information or proof of ask. Gotcha. It is really weird that Barney is like not even close to the top result when you search Barney. I don't know. It lists all these like historical people and stuff. And the name of that professor is Wintwest. All right, where else do y'all want to go around town? All right. Uh, all right. So it's probably getting on towards. It's probably like afternoonish now, getting on towards early evening. Y'all kind of made a lot of stops today. You head your way back up. It's not too far from University back to Palace District, and it's easy to navigate because you can see a store palace sort of moving up in the distance, and you enter the section of the Palace District that Fo kind of vaguely pointed to. Okay. All right. So now we have kind of dual screens going. On one side, we have kind of a training montage of Spinny and Solon. Solon is kicking your butt, but your stuff. Every time you think you've gotten like good enough to really like give him a run for his money, you realize he's been like holding back a little bit, and he's been doing that to you as long as you've known him. Every time you get better, he holds back just a little bit less. All right, other three. How do you all want to go about scouting out Lord Constantine's estate? You want to go for like the full-on like ninja scout approach. So I'll go ahead and tell you this. So the way most of these estates are structured, there's sort of passing through. There's a walled, high gated wall that runs most of the way around the estates. And then there's like a small buffer in between. Back a good from the gate is usually a main building, like the really nice sort of central main house. And then also like some servants' quarters and like a little guard house and a couple of other sort of auxiliary buildings. If you want to find out anything particularly meaningful, you're probably going to have to get through or over that wall somehow. It just helps your stealth. So if you had some kind of cover, or say if you were doing it at night, you'd have a decent chance of being evasive. But yeah, if you just like walk right up to the gate, it's not invisibility. Well, and I should clarify. So what you can see from the road is the tall, solid, like it looks like maybe some kind of stone wall. It's not like bars you could see. This very tall wall. There's a main gate and like maybe some side gates. All of them are heavily guarded, and like city royal knights patrolling up and down through the streets occasionally. You can see like the tops of some trees sticking up past the wall. You can see just like the highest floor of the main building pushed up high enough. Very like Bufo's place is nice, but functional. This looks like he just asked for one of everything. It's an architectural mess. Good. All right. Make a everyone who's there, make a persec just to kind of see what you pick up from walking by. Yeah, he might be able to help you out. All right. There's not a whole lot to see because of this big wall. Chaos Monster, you do notice there are a lot of guards, and there's both guards you can see, but also you kind of just barely catch occasionally like heads poking up over the wall in different spots for just a second. And you get the impression that there's maybe even more guards out of sight. I mean, nobody is like, y'all are just strolling. All right. So you reconvene back to Cha Cha Palace. What do you want to do? So in that case, it said that you needed to follow up to get like the you needed to go visit the Heraldist Trade storefront. Yeah. Y'all were probably sort of watching the house, the estate, as like the lights started kicking off up above, one by one. Do y'all want to go back to your new house? All right. It's not a massive house. It actually takes you a minute to find it because most of your travel around town has been to like specific places. You've been looking for shops or the university or the palace. This is an area that like doesn't even get like a cool name. But there is a house at the address that you were given. It's a fairly nice house. It's sort of an unusual design. It's not like a freestanding house. It's sort of a row house. It looks like it's about 3 stories up. Not quite as wide as you might imagine. You imagine each floor is kind of probably only a couple of rooms. It's got a very nice, like, dark brick exterior. The street number is 123. Yeah, you make your way inside. It's sort of sparsely furnished at this point. There's just some basic, like, there's a table and some chairs. There's a few slightly nicer looking couches. Upstairs, you've 5 or 6 different bedrooms. Not all of them have stuff in them. You find 4 beds. You presume that Bufo had those moved in anticipation of you using it. There's a little kitchen on the first floor. Yeah, there's nothing too fancy about it yet. You might be able to tweak it and have it redecorated or remodeled as resources become available. Is there anything y'all want to do to sort of your individuals or to the house as a whole? Chaos Monster is bouncing up and down. What else? Have someone to talk. All right. It doesn't look like a full stable, but it does have a patch of backyard that backs up to another street behind it. It is fenced, and there is it's sort of halfway between a stable and a shed. Like you could open and close parts of it for storage or for keeping animals. Yeah, with a little bit of work, you could make it a nice little place to let Cookie hang out while you're not on horseback. Just for fun, make an animal handling check. All right, you do a really good job. You get sort of a stall worked out for her. You have to do a little bit of quick shopping around, but you manage to come back with some for her, a nice like blanket. You're able to drag an old water trough and set it up. It's a pretty good setup. Cookie seems happy. I'm going to add Cookie to our front page. All right. I kind of think I'm going to leave it there, and we'll plan on you all heading off to the glitter mines next. All right. I'm going to go eat my food finally. I'm so hungry. No worries. It was for a good cause. Yep, sounds good. All right. Peace. Oh, a quick word to the Soma / Pathfinder. I'd be up for playing sometime this weekend. If y'all look at schedules and kind of figure out when you might be available. I assume, is Sunday the Super Bowl, or is that the following week? Okay, so probably not Sunday, but potentially Friday or Saturday. Just let me know. All right. So I'll throw it in our text message just as a reminder. And we'll see what happens. All right. Peace.